Last summer, Bang& Olufsen did something amazing. They took 100 of their turntables from 1985, remanufactured them, and paired them with a set of wireless speakers so they could be part of a modern home hi-fi system. The only problem is that it costs $30,000. And today, I kind of want to find out, can I build my own that integrates with my existing Sonos system for less than 150 bucks? You know, I like computers and I like music, and I also really like computers that play music. This is my first ever MP3 player, a Dell DJ, and for some reason I chose this and not an iPod for reasons. Even though now I really love iPods, and we're going to look at this one in a different video. I found a bunch of these Sonos speakers on Facebook Marketplace for like 100 bucks. And all you have to do is just tell it what you want to listen to, and it'll find it on Apple Music or Spotify or whatever. It's actually kind of insane that you can basically listen to any song that's ever been recorded, and you don't even really have to search that hard for it. It wasn't that long ago that you had to pay $1 per song if you wanted to. And what you could fit on here was all you got. But even this, that's like 10,000 songs. It's basically all the music you could ever want to listen to, and it's super convenient. And so obviously, in keeping of the theme of incredibly convenient computers that play music, I was browsing eBay the other day and I bought this. Yeah, so this is a 40-year-old turntable, and I don't even own any records. Okay, so the only reason I bought this is I just think it's the most beautiful thing I've ever seen. It's 40 years old, but it looks like it was made yesterday. Brushed aluminum, modern, and it's just in amazing condition too. And so this is a Bang& Olufsen B&O RX2. And when I think of Bang & Olufsen, I think of just like these super expensive audiophile devices. And this was only 120 bucks, and it's practically brand new. Aside from some scratches on the top cover, it works, it spins, it plays music. Yeah, I kind of bought a bunch of records, but it works. And it sounds awesome. And thanks to one of my Sonos speakers that has line in, I can actually listen to records through my Sonos system. And it's kind of a trip to be able to listen to a record in my kitchen that's playing in my office. There is one problem though, and that's the play button doesn't work. It just it doesn't. It's broken. I don't know what's wrong, and I bet I can fix it. I bet there's like a loose connection in there or something. But honestly, that's not even a complete solution, because I'm using these Sonos speakers and they've got this button on top that lets you play and pause the music. But if I press this, it'll mute. It'll end up halfway through the next song, or it'll just run out the record completely, and I have to run back to my office and fiddle with the thing again. So I had an idea. What if instead of doing something that's easy and sensible, we do something that's hard and complicated, like putting a computer inside the 40-year-old turntable so I can turn it on and off with my Sonos speaker? So I kind of want to see if we can control this from this using
cheese.
Let's pop this guy open and see what we're working with. So this is the circuit board that controls all the functions of the turntable. This is the header that we unplugged when we took off the top lid. So this definitely controls the play and pause and stop button, that kind of stuff. So maybe we can hook into this if we want to try to control the turntable with an ESP32 and our Sonos. Just looking at the schematic, I see play stop, 45, Q, 33. That lines up with the buttons on the front and on the top. Isn't it just nice to have schematics? Everything else in here looks like it's in really amazing shape. The fuse up here, even the belt, it tracks just fine, and it's not dry or brittle or anything. So I don't really think I need to replace that. And I don't see any signs of damage on the circuit board either. I think the only repair that we have to do here is just fix that broken power button and do something about this scratched case. This wire is definitely completely cut, so I'm actually going to start by cutting it, which sounds counterintuitive. Before I forget, insulation, because how many times have I soldered something together and forgotten to put this on first? I don't want to jinx it, but I think that's fixed. We have our connection points down here and on the chip here, but we still need to actually control this thing from a Sonos. And I've really enjoyed working with these little ESP32 boards. These things are super popular with home automation folks because they're really small, they're really cheap, they're pretty easy to program, and you can kind of do anything you want with them. This one is made by Seed Studio, and it packs in Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, Zigbee, and Matter over Thread. And I picked this one mostly just because I've got a very limited space down here, and it's very low profile. We also need to actually control this thing, and we probably want to use some sort of switch to simulate a button press on these pins. I designed my own custom circuit board using KiCad. It has a place right here to surface mount the ESP32. It has connection points up here at the top to connect into those sense pins for play, pause, and on and off. And I also added ground and 5 volts because we need to actually power the board. These are opto isolators to actually simulate the button presses. They're kind of like teeny tiny relays. And then on the bottom here, I have 2 sets of pin headers, one to plug into the turntable and the other to plug into the keyboard that we fixed earlier. So it'll pass through the button presses, and it'll also let us plug it in like this. We'll plug in the keyboard up here and wire in those headers to the chip and ground and 5 volts, and it should just work. Along with the opto isolators, there are also a bunch of small passive resistors and capacitors on this board. You probably can't even see them because they're so small. And the only reason I was able to spec super tiny little surface mount capacitors and resistors on this board is because PCBWay reached out and offered to partner with me on this project. So full disclosure, PCBWay did manufacture and assemble these parts for me for free, but they have had no say in any of the content of this video, and all of my thoughts are completely my own. And the first time they are going to see or hear any of this is going to be when this video is published up on YouTube. So I think PCBWay is probably best known for small batch prototype PCBs like this one, but one of the services I've been really interested in for a long time has been assembly. So rather than getting bare PCBs in the mail and having to do all of the micro soldering and stuff myself, I wanted to try to see if I could get all of the teeny tiny little components populated. For one, I didn't really want to have to buy 500 tiny little capacitors for this project and worry about buying the right size or the right value. But these things are just so freaking small, I think it'd be a huge pain to have to solder all of them on with the basic tools that I have in my workshop. And I kind of just wanted to see what it would be like to get the board fully manufactured for me. So that basically I just get it in the mail and add my ESP32 and that's it. I'm done. I'm not going to win any soldering awards, but I think that it's probably fine. So what I think I might do is just probe around on the board to try to see if I can get a clean 5-volt signal, and then I'll just make a note of where that is, and hopefully we can just tap off of that. Nope. Oh, is that? Okay, yep, 5.3 volts, ground there. And then pin 11 as our play or stop indicator, and then pin number 12 as play versus pause. I loaded up my software into ESP Home, and I just need to tell it the IP address of the Sonos speaker, and then plug my ESP32 into the computer. Once it has the Wi-Fi info, I'll be able to do network updates in the future. But I just connect it over USB, and it's going to automatically load the firmware onto my ESP32, and it should just connect to Wi-Fi once I plug it in. Let's plug it in and hope it doesn't go boom. All right, connecting power in 3, 2, 1. It did something. And we have a blinking red light. Let's go see if it's on the Wi-Fi. Okay, so I did a bunch of experimenting off camera, and there is a problem. I bet some of you have been shouting this at your screen since I started working on this thing, but I can't actually get 5 volts from over here because the second I try to power on the ESP32, it just browns out the chip. There is not enough current flowing into the chip to power both the chip and the ESP32 board. I was hoping to avoid having to tap into the 24 volt incoming source, which is right there, but I don't think I'm going to be able to avoid it. So unfortunately, I'm going to have to use one of these little buck converters to take the 24 volts and step it down to 5 volts. It looks kind of messy, but we have 24 volts coming into the buck converter, which I'm just noticing is broken. Hopefully it works. Going out to our ESP32 and out to the turntable. Hoping that when I turn this thing on, we will get a red light and it'll just work. So power. Okay, and it's doing stuff for some reason. I'm gonna plug this thing in and see if that is causing that. So it turns out that in my design, I wired the 2 opto isolators backwards, and apparently you're not allowed to do that. So along with the fact that I need to use a buck converter to get the 24 volts down to something that the ESP32 can use, unfortunately, I need to redesign my board. I found these super tiny buck converters on Amazon, so I redesigned the board to use one of those instead. Okay, so I placed another order from PCBWay, and this time I bought these with my own money. I ordered these less than 2 weeks ago, and it is just utterly crazy to me that I can place an order, have them manufacture the circuit board, and also do the assembly, and ship it from China in 2 weeks. Let's open it. I ordered these in matte black this time instead of gloss black, and I'm really eager to see what they look like. Oh damn. The matte black basically looks like the same board finish that Apple uses on their logic boards. I did learn a couple things from one revision to the next. These pads up here, they were just way too small. I found that the through-hole pins for the connector on the back were getting in the way of the USB connector, and also because the buck converter is so small, I'm able to just mount it straight onto the board the same way I'm doing with the ESP32. Something like that, and then the ESP32 goes on like that. It feels really compact, and it's definitely a lot better than these two together. That would just be way too big. So let's get this thing soldered up and see if this works any better. Oh, and leave a comment if you know what computer this is. Three, two, one. Oh, we got a red light. That's good. And the turntable's not spinning. That's good. I'm gonna go check ESP Home and see if this thing has connected to the Wi-Fi. Let's try pressing the controls in Home Assistant and see if it works. It's working. Pressing the Q button works. Pressing the play button works. Finally. Finally. Okay, I'm gonna put the lid back on and let's test it for real. I'm gonna try to see if we can get these little scratches out of the top case with this liquid scratch remover. All right, it's not perfect, but I got a lot of the scratches out and it's definitely way more shiny and smooth than it was before. If you look at it under a normal light from across the room, it looks brand new. Okay, here's my Sonos speaker, moment of truth. Okay, I'm gonna try to pause it. Okay, needle went up, which means the record is paused. And play. Yes! Okay, this is so exciting. Now I can control my turntable from my Sonos, or I can control it from here. So I'm gonna put the design files for this board up on GitHub. I think this will work in other Bang & Olufsen turntables from around the same time period. So not including the Sonos speakers that I already had, my cost on this project is only $132, a total savings of $29,868.06. Not too bad. Even though I'm not an electrical engineer, I still really love making these custom PCBs. It looks a lot nicer than just a rat's nest of wires, and it's just really fun to learn new things. I definitely recommend trying this project out. It's a lot of fun to take something old and give it a new life. And if you liked it too, I hope you'll consider subscribing to the channel. It really helps me figure out what projects to work on next, and I just want to show you guys some cool stuff. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.